So don't tune out on the words cryptocurrency exchange, because I have Hodge, our head of broadcasting, sitting behind the cameras over there. And we both just vowed, instead of learning bridge, to sign up to your academy and to learn more about this fascinating and rapidly evolving world of digital assets. From the rise of blockchain technology to the future of finance in the Middle East, I'm here today to ask you to share your insights into the mainstream adoption of crypto. I feel, and you said this, Frederica, when we met, that the language used around crypto is sort of engineered towards quite nerdy men. Actually, why should it be? And I'm thrilled that you're here today to bring some glamour. It's phenomenal how many women there are at Binance. First of all, your co-founder is a woman, your general manager is a woman, your chief marketing officer, your global director of brand marketing, and on and on. I've met several other women here today. Thank you so much for partnering with us and for letting us have this conversation. How are you both doing?
Very well. Thank you for doing this with us as well.
Can we just start as a bit of a warm-up with what you're wearing today? Because this is a Sheer Lux podcast still. We might be talking about crypto, but that doesn't mean it's going to be dry. So stay listening. This is Chanel-inspired, but...
Chanel-inspired, but couples. It's an old favourite. And
love it.
Great tailoring.
And great jewellery.
I love my jewellery. So this one piece I just recently got made in Dubai by Vic Jet that was inspired by a piece I saw on you on a Sheer Lux interview. And then a Dina Reiter necklace, which I adore. Gift from husband. So.
Love, love, love. Frederica, I mean, you come from a world that fascinates me. Ralph Lauren, Jimmy Choo, Chanel, and then pivoted into crypto. I mean, that's fascinating. What are you wearing today?
Chanel jacket. Had to do a little ode to my old home. Jimmy Choo heels and the Zara set, high-low. Full high-low.
Full high-low. We love a bit of high-low. Can you give me a brief synopsis into the world, of your careers into the world of crypto? Rachel, starting with you.
So I'm a 20-year marketing veteran, which always scares me, seeing as I still feel like I'm 21. I've been working in advertising, and more recently sports and entertainment. I worked in Creative Artists Agency, which was one of the largest sports and entertainment agencies globally, representing everyone from Bradley Cooper to Ronaldo to F1. And it was actually through F1 that I made the jump into crypto. At the time, we were negotiating a lot of the big programs for the fintech, TradFi, and crypto players. And I just became fascinated by the space and decided to put both feet in and jumped in nearly 4 years ago now and haven't looked back. You know, it's been an extraordinary experience.
You two knew each other in a former life. You came to Binance and nabbed this one.
I've been lucky to have Freddie work with me twice. We know each other from New York. And we met there, through marketing circles. It's a small world over there. And always loved her perspective. And even though she worked in traditional luxury, she always had really strong opinions on what was the future of kind of digital, social, experiential marketing. So we managed to draw her in to Binance.
Tell us, because you were telling me earlier, you're a New Yorker who went to Vanderbilt because you wanted to live the college girl life, which I love. But you weren't a cheerleader. That's very disappointing.
No, sorry, really disappoining. Really disappointing.
I know.
I do have a fun fact I'm going to be in trouble about sharing. Frederica was on Gossip Girl.
Were you actually?
We said we would entertain.
Entertain first. Who said crypto was dry? You were not. Were you actually?
I was, yes. Very briefly.
And
actually, you just sent me a WhatsApp earlier that was like, your old boyfriend is in Dubai.
Chuck Bass is in town.
No, that's not real. I was his date in the show for a minute.
Were you actually? Which episode? Which season?
Season 1, episode 10.
How old were you?
20.
What did you wear?
Actually, it wasn't that great.
Really?
No. It was this powder blue gown, and it was meant to be a deb ball. And you don't wear colors to deb balls. So it was, a little creative license.
Is that a thing? You don't wear color to Debbie Temple? Oh.
Well, it depends which one. Anyway.
That's a whole show.
Sorry. The Creole Bowl, maybe. But that's the only one. So that's probably what they were copying.
Okay. So from Gossip Girl, okay, what came next? Gossip Girl, Vanderbilt University.
Yep, back to New York City.
Back to New York City. You studied marketing.
Yes.
Into Ralph Lauren.
Yes.
Next stop.
Actually, Ralph Lauren had an internal ad agency, so there was some overlap with Rachel's world in terms of experience, but it was an in-house agency. Ralph Lauren for a while, then was at Jimmy Choo for a while, Chanel for a little while in New York, and that's when I left New York and moved to Paris for a couple years.
And can we talk about what piqued your interest in this crypto world? Because, I can't imagine this is a path well trodden for many women.
I've always been interested in technology. I think I was one of the first cohorts of people to have Facebook, if I'm being really honest, which really dates me, but really actually was one of the earlier adopters of Facebook because you actually had to have a certain college email address to get it.
Okay.
When they launched it.
Gosh, yes, you really were then.
I think from then it was always like so interesting to watch how the technology changed. I mean, probably some people might remember where you had to post albums to Facebook from another application called Shutterfly. And so watching the evolution of consumer tech from a social perspective, but otherwise evolve over time has just been amazing to watch. Started hearing about crypto in New York in 2015, looked into buying some at the time, slightly out of my depth then, did more research and bought first Bitcoin in 2019 and continued from there and realized I actually wanted to work in it because I thought it was so fascinating. So
can we just have a brief moment for the course that you did online to learn? Can we touch on that?
I think because of New York, and that's obviously how I know Rachel as well, the network of women there is always fascinating. And there was a woman named Maggie Love who knew a friend of mine who'd worked at Consensus, really amazing company. And she had recommended that if I really wanted to upskill early in my interest, that I should do SheFi. So I did that. It was like they call it a fellowship. It's about 8 weeks of learning.
You now have your own academy, which is what Hodge and I are going to be doing on Monday nights. I'm actually not joking, but I think how it really blows my mind. You've got amazing style, Ralph Lauren, Jimmy Choo, and Chanel, and here you are now. And this team must be totally unrivaled in this crypto world, right?
Yeah, and look, Binance is the largest exchange. So we're in 100 countries with over 252 million users, which just to kind of give you a size of the breadth. So, Freddie and I are two people in a 250 person marketing team in a 6,000 person operation. So, we're very privileged to be, one of the larger, and we've really built the playbook as it pertains to how this industry is built, which has been really social, digital, community first, which is something that certainly attracted me to this space because it's like you're learning really from the grassroots, organizations like, Maggie and SheFi and like other users. So.
Well, it's working because I'm here listening. There are other people who will be listening to this now. So the work that you're doing as marketers is absolutely paying off. Can we go back though and just talk in simple terms about how you would explain cryptocurrency to someone? Well, we've all heard of it, but just doesn't understand it. And let's face it, I know a lot of very, very successful women, and men, but who just don't understand it. It's a universal currency, but can you go back in real layman's terms?
It's generally just a digital currency. And if you want to draw an analogy, think about it like a digital notebook where you can write down every transaction that you're making. So, every credit and debit that you're making. So that digital notebook lives on what's called the blockchain. And rather than having to go through an intermediary like a bank, you and I can just transfer funds directly to each other. So, that's the most basic way of looking at it. But what's incredible about it is it's borderless. So you don't need to be just in UK. Me in UAE and Abu Dhabi could transfer directly to Georgie in London.
Yeah.
And it
Instantly.
operates at the speed of lightning, literally. There's no delays. There's no kind of 24 hours that you have to wait for the payment to come in.
Moving on to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. How is that different from sort of traditional money?
It has no physical manifestation. I mean, it's fully digital currency. So fiat, there's crypto, and then there's fiat, like pounds or euros or dollars. And there's a government that manages those currencies and manages the printing of that money, quite literally, and how much there is in circulation.
Yeah.
And so governments own that.
Yeah.
Crypto is borderless. It is decentralized. So it's completely void of a lot of those controls.
So, for example, governments manage inflation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen in the world of cryptocurrency, which is actually one of the reasons why in a lot of countries where you see really high inflation, people have started investing in crypto because it allows them keep their money at the value that it was worth, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But to that point of governments controlling money and then being tied to sort of a value and a worth, I mean, this is the bit where my husband, and I have to sort of take a moment to say that we met in Abu Dhabi at New Year, and you crossed paths with my husband for a moment. And I said, Rachel, could you just elevate a pitch, please, to my husband why we should invest in crypto? And diversification is something that even I know with sort of quite basic financial knowledge, but diversification is key. And if you believe in that, then sort of almost no more questions. But there are people who have this, you can't get their heads around where the value comes from.
Well, think about it. So the current financial system that we know, with Wall Street, Canary Wharf, stock markets, that took 100 years to build. And cryptocurrency and blockchain has only been around 15 years since the Satoshi white paper, which was when Bitcoin, was first introduced. But really what it is...
only 15 years.
It's only 15 years. Binance is only 7. We're just about to hit 8, which is extraordinary when you think about it. We're so early, in the education journey.
Someone said to me once, we started off, people sort of go back to the, dark ages and people exchanged crops and then they turned it into coins
and gold,
and then they turned it, and then there were credit cards, and now there's crypto, which I always think is such an interesting way to see the evolution of
it's fascinating.
Trading. We're just trading on me. Sorry, I totally interrupted you.
No, but we're still at if you think about where we are, so we have 620 million, the latest research, crypto holders. So people that own some type of crypto globally at the moment. So we're still at the early stages.
You have 250.
Yeah, we touch over a third of those, which is incredible, nearly a half. But what's incredible about that is we're still at the same number of users as the internet was back in 1997. So if you think about the potential and the opportunity, and just to go back to the original point, it's really just like an alternative asset that you can invest in as part, going back to what you said as diversification, which is what myself and your husband spoke about. It just becomes like an alternative asset, and if people like Goldman Sachs or, BlackRock and Blackstone and all of these companies that, have made very smart, financial moves in the past are starting to invest in this. We know that is something that's here to stay.
Is that what you're seeing, that those big financial institutions are? Because I think there's probably a lot of nervousness around crypto. And if you believe the diversification, yes. I mean, I have been saying to you since New Year, I really just want to buy a bit of crypto, and how do I get started? And it doesn't have to be a huge amount, but I just want to play with it and see what happens and try it. But if those big financial institutions are getting involved, that's got to be pretty comforting for the everyman, right? Every woman, sorry.
But it's still really early. So you're still an early adopter of what is crypto and blockchain. That's what's extraordinary. I met the most amazing woman. We do these things called super meetups, where because we're a digital business, we saw the importance of people being able to ask you questions in person and really understand. So these meetups are for everyone and anyone to come along. We do some education in them. We provide good food and drinks, usually some entertainment. And I met this amazing 65-year-old woman at one of these. And she started with 5 USDT, which is one of the stable coins.
Right.
And over the last
stable
coin.
It's pegged to a currency.
It's pegged to a currency. So it's pegged to the dollar in this specific one. She started trading with what was $5, and a group of her girlfriends, they all started trading with what would be, $5 equivalent. And they've turned it into 60,000.
How long ago did they start trading?
Took them 2 years. But what's extraordinary about that is that was just them playing around with it and educating themselves.
We need to go quickly back to London and get onto the academy.
So that just shows you, it's one of those, if you've got early adopters, you do have to learn more and educate more. It's like when we started using social media first, like it wasn't naturally intuitive to us. It's like when we all started using the internet, we had to educate ourselves a little. But once you do that little bit of research and start learning a little, then you're kind of opening up so much potential. Whether you be someone that just wants to buy a bit of Bitcoin and sit in it as savings to see the value increase or decrease, as it sometimes does, it's volatile. Or if you want to go deeper into trading the same way you do with stocks and shares on the traditional market, like there's a lot of fun to be had in a responsible way.
So before I ask you about Binance, and I'd love to hear a bit more about Binance and what you do, because you're not just an exchange, you also have your own coin academy. I'm slightly out of my depth here, but that's I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Essentially, just to summarize though, what we're saying here is it's a currency. You can buy and sell with it. There's one universal market. You're not tied to a particular country's economy, inflation, or the reverse, etc. And as in my basic head, it works. If someone wants to buy what you've got, then it's got some value.
You've described that beautifully. You actually don't need us anymore.
This is layman
there you
terms.
go. You're taking
and to my husband's point, there's an economist that we both follow and really rate, and that particular economist is quite cynical, but I, just from talking to both of you, have become more interested. And I've watched a few things, actually. I was telling you about that documentary I watched on the plane, which explained blockchain and crypto and a few other things. I meant to send you a link to it. I haven't yet, have I?
But I'm very curious which one.
Yes, I must find it. It's 3-parter. Anyway, yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. And I do believe, in summary, that I do believe in diversification and how fascinating that you can start with $5 and turn it into that. I'm also very risk averse. Very risk
which
averse.
is most women.
And, that's why women are good people to invest in, good investees, and why we have a much better track record,
Great investors.
etc. But, I'd rather put an each way bet on, go home. Up for the day. But anyway, I still feel a real urge to experiment and see what happens. And that has really come from you. Can you tell us a bit more about Binance? What do you label yourself as? An exchange? You're lots of things.
Yeah, really, we're a modern financial organization. That's
Okay.
how I would describe it. So,
And can you tell us a little bit about the history and the founders and what it is that you offer? Because it's not just an exchange, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not just an exchange. It's really an ecosystem, and it's founded by an incredible team, namely CZ and Yihi, who were the key co-founders. They founded it, nearly 8 years ago in Asia initially. And Asia has been one of the regions that really were the early adopters, as with many technologies. But it's just grown, just to give you context, it took us 5 years to get to 100 million users, another 2 years on top of that to get to 200. And in, a year, we got to 255 million, and we've added like 80 million users in 14 months, which is just to kind of give you the pace of growth. It's exponential
So
on
get
an
it
annual
now,
basis.
basically.
Yeah, and it still is really early. It's really an end-to-end suite. So you can do everything from buying and selling, as you said, from trading, staking, it's
So what's
a lot
the
of...
analogy? If that's what you're using Binance for, what's the analogy to that? Is it Visa?
I would argue it's more sophisticated than that. But to Rachel's point, you don't need to understand the technology to understand the benefit. I think that's the key point. Like, as an example, just as a sort of basic analogy, you can put money into a savings account, as an example, and let it sit there at a certain return, which is usually quite low. And you can do the same thing with crypto. There's an earn opportunity.
Sure.
And it's typically
Higher than a regular...
Yeah, higher APRs than what you get in a regular savings account.
Is
So,
it?
and you also rewarded for learning.
while you both do your academy, you can earn.
At the end of the day, as much as it's about, holding or diversifying, there's also very real use cases, as a digital currency. So Binance Pay is one of the products we've launched. One incredible partnership that we've done is with Printemps in Paris, in France, where, if you are traveling there, you can use your Binance Pay product
So
to
that's
buy
what I was
using
going to ask
crypto.
you. Where can
Yeah.
I use when I've made my
Farfetch.
60,000?
Farfetch, Quantum, long list of, spaces. So
So I can
you can
shop on
access
Farfetch with, so like I might have an option for an Apple Pay or for Revolut or for whatever else. There would be an option.
Yeah, so for crypto payments. And even this week Gucci just announced they're accepting crypto payments in all of their
Really?
stores.
Yes.
You're going to come full circle now.
I know.
Hiya.
But that is this is a technology that we're only just scratching the surface today on the use cases.
There are places you can use crypto, like traditional retail.
Real estate, cars, you can use it for shopping, you can use it for groceries, like runs the gamut in terms of the use cases.
And if you put your money, if you set up a crypto account, if you set up
Yeah.
a Binance account and you put your $5 equivalent in or your 50 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
is there a minimum that you have to start with?
No, that's the beauty of it. And that's what was one of
Any
the
amount.
reasons I was attracted to it is you've still got 1.8 billion people that are unbanked around the world.
Really?
So, one of the incredible
Wow.
opportunities with crypto is it really democratizes finance. It means that those, and we see
Those
many
emerging markets as well.
those
huge
frontier
potential.
markets, and that's why you've seen such a high adoption in many of the frontier markets,
Right,
like in
right.
Africa.
So in terms of your markets, you said Turkey.
The biggest regions are Asia. Asia
Right.
is huge for us. Thailand, Vietnam, India. We just got our registration there recently. Huge market. Middle East has been a market that's been an early adopter. And we're sitting here in Dubai. There's a reason we're sitting in our office in Dubai.
Unreal
They
success,
have
isn't it?
just taken such a forward and welcoming approach, like all of the major, crypto founders and blockchain
it's such
founders
a-
live in this space.
People in the region listening will know, but it blows my mind how advanced digitally this place is.
Oh, it's so
There's
easy.
so much potential for growth. Yeah, and we're only that's part of what I found so fascinating about coming here is there's so much growth ahead. I went through Doha Airport the other day. I didn't see a human until I got to.
Really?
It was all just so. There wasn't.
So how long did it take you? It's like 10 minutes
Yeah,
to get through
so
airports.
expedient.
That's incredible.
So sorry, this is a huge market as well for you
huge
guys.
market. UAE is huge. Qatar, the broader region, Latin America.
Yeah,
I was
huge.
lucky to do a roadshow there last summer for 3 weeks, and every market has such different use cases. Like Mexico is more institutional. Brazil, it's everything from hedging against inflation to alternative way of wealth creation.
How protected is your money that you convert? Because it's a universal currency, are you more protected?
So we're a centralized exchange. So, we take security and compliance. We've over 1,000 people that work just in security and compliance within the business. And you are, we have very strict security
No bank
protocols in
is
place.
100% secure, by the way.
Exactly.
Look at what happened to Lehman's. And
Yeah, we have very strict security protocols, but you can put extra levels on. So you can put 2FA, the same way many people have on their social media now to make sure it's you that's
Got
checking
you,
in.
got you.
We have 24-hour customer service because this is a 24-hour industry. We don't close between, after 5 and before 9. So there's a lot of protocols in place to ensure that you're protected. And that's one of the big things that our marketing team does is like education and content on how to protect yourself. And also the most important thing is one for one. So in terms of, one of the reasons why Lehman Brothers crashed is, they were using their investors' money for alternative means. We have one-to-one, so everything is backed up. So every, dollar, every Bitcoin is backed up with proof of reserves.
And when you want your money out, when you've made your 60, Hodge, and we've made our 60,000, we want to put it as cash under our mattresses for a rainy day. Is that easy? How possible is that? How quickly
Depends
can
on
you do
the
that?
market you're in and what is the framework
Conversion.
in place there. But, usually it's instantaneous. In other markets, there, maybe a little bit delay, but you can get it out very quickly. There's also now what I love in Brazil and Mexico, you've got the ATMs
cash points,
where you
yes.
can just take out equivalent
Cash
in
points.
cash. Yeah.
You'll see Bitcoin signs all over Brazil or
Yeah.
Did you say Mexico?
Yeah.
I saw that in Mexico.
It's
That
pretty
blew
impressive.
my mind.
I know.
Yeah. And can we just talk about safety, security of the money? You can get it out. We sort of covered that. But can you go bust and can I lose my money?
So Rachel mentioned proof of reserves, which means your money is backed one for one.
Yeah.
So no, not going bust. Because we demonstrate that constantly. So you have a transparent view of that all the time if you want. But on top of that, we have 21 licenses globally. So we're the most licensed exchange in the world.
Okay.
And obviously looking to be as compliant as possible with governments to ensure that we're protecting users, and security is number one priority.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the big myths that we try and spend a lot of time debunking about this space, is that it's all a scam, your money can disappear overnight. Like if you look at digital asset crypto space versus, traditional finance, the incidence of scams is actually about 0.52% versus what is nearly like 3 to 4%
I read
according
this.
to
This
Chainlab,
blew
which is
my
extraordinary.
mind. I loved this. As I love a stat like this, I'm going to be quoting this to everybody.
But compared to, if you think about it, the reason is because the technology is transparent.
Right.
So you can trace the full journey the funds have been on, all transaction history, because it's available on the blockchain.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the reasons, that as we see such a rise in different scams, that in traditional finance as well as in cybersecurity, that we're able to help support, because we're able to track and, we're able to blacklist wallets so people can't interact with them. Like there's really smart ways because of the technological advancements that we can do to protect people.
Going back to Binance and what you're an exchange. What else are you?
I think what drew me to this business particularly, which I think is amazing, is how I would argue grassroots this whole entire industry is, and user-centric, in the sense that particularly Binance, I would say major unique selling point is just how community focused this business is. And I think many businesses use the word community quite liberally. I think.
Buzzword. Yeah.
It's a great word, but I think Binance is incredibly sincere about it. They care about what you need crypto for, and are very deeply interested in enabling that, and are always constantly seeking feedback to improve product, to improve service, to improve everything. So there's an enormous group, as Rachel said, I think actually we're closer to 260 million.
I really do believe that. Not just sitting here doing this partnership with you, but I believe that as like women to women. And I think that, I always say, I think the world would be a very different place if women were in the positions of power that some men were in at this point in time.
Yeah, 36% of our management team is female.
It's female.
And I think we are driven by community and wanting to do a really good job. It's funny, if you were a man sitting here saying that, I'd be thinking that's total BS. But the fact that you're women saying we actually want to serve our community and help them do better, I do actually believe you.
But the philosophy, the philosophy of our founders is extraordinary, though.
Yeah.
I'm
But you've obviously got that
lucky.
at the top. Yeah.
Been really lucky to work with, amazing CEOs and management teams in my career. But when I came here, I was so impressed by, as they've scaled, how close they've managed to keep to their users. So like one example, all of us who sit on the management team and the leadership board, we have to do customer service training every month for a day. So tomorrow morning, I'm starting my day on a 12-hour shift on customer service, so that we're like at the interface of hearing what the issues are of our users. So then we understand how to creatively solve those problems.
Gosh, well, we're hosting dinner tonight.
I know. I'm not letting anyone.
Quite interesting women in Dubai, so we'll have to, watch you on.
But it's extraordinary. Like that is one of the reasons why the business has been able to grow and have the market share that it is like constant active listening, constant trying to understand how we do better. Because at the end of the day, as we all know, a brand, a business like Binance, ShareLux, it doesn't exist without our users, without the people
absolutely.
that are our fans. And I think that's what, like moving from sports and entertainment into the space, the best analogy I could use for this is it's almost like we're like sports clubs, and we've got these incredible fan bases, who act as, we've got users that act as like ambassadors and educate people.
Fandom, loyalty,
it's incredible.
community, they're all the buzzwords, aren't they?
But it's like true. It's like part of the fabric of how it operates, which for me, coming from marketing, and you know this for years, Georgie, it's like you're so used to people telling you this is the playbook, but actually seeing it live and in color and working is like unparalleled. So it's been exciting.
How is the growth of Binance versus your competitors?
We were the largest after 100 days, number one after 100 days, which is really remarkable. Wow. So almost 8 years ago, as we said, July is our anniversary. It took only 100 days to be the leading global exchange in terms of scale, trade volume, and we've stayed number one ever since. And just continued, as we said, to listen to the community, what was required from us to help facilitate what they were trying to do.
One thing we do have to say, and obviously there will be disclaimers coming out of our ears in all the content that we produce together, but there is risk in everything, right? You diversify. That is why you diversify. That is why any wealth manager will tell you to diversify, because there is nothing is guaranteed. Not even the cash under your mattress. If you are listening and you are interested in taking those first steps, as I am, what are they? What do you do first? Where do you even start? Is it with an exchange? Is it with a currency? Is it with a
Education.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you spoke about acronyms at the beginning and how sort of nerdy men try to use them. There's one that's used constantly, which I really think is important, which is DYOR, do your own research. And that's where you start. You have to understand what you're investing in. I mean, you wouldn't buy a house and sign a mortgage if you didn't understand what you were doing, would you? No. So I think the same thing holds. You need to understand what you're investing in. Understand if you're buying a certain token, you want to understand who's created the project, details
and
behind
just
it.
to be really clear, tokens, your token is your coin.
Token is your coin. Yeah.
Binance is your exchange. Yes. Different coins can be exchanged on your platform.
There's over, globally, I think there's over like 30,000
how
different
does-
tokens
how
or
does-
coins.
how
We
does
do a
that
lot of
work?
due diligence.
Right.
So you only get listed on Binance if you fulfill certain criteria.
Okay.
So that's the founding team, that's the technology, that's the the robustness of the technology, the roadmap. So not dissimilar to what you see in the technology space where people are investing in different businesses is essentially the same way that people are investing in different coins and tokens.
And maybe this is getting too deep, but you're the exchange. You also have your own coin, correct? If I go to Farfetch or Printemps, can I use any
you can
coin?
use, so for example, depending on what
Sorry,
you
the cogs
have.
are-
No,
the
no, no,
cogs
no,
are
it's
turning
great.
in my
I love
head.
that this is exactly, your curiosity is piqued and you're going deeper in, which is exactly what we love. So, you can, crypto and the exchange crypto can be used using Bitcoin. It can be used using BNB, which is our coin. It can be used using Ethereum,
Yes.
which is another. You can do it doing Solana. It depends on what's accepted
And
from
is
that
your-
perspective, and that's connected to your account, so it will directly
And
connect.
maybe this is a really stupid question,
Yeah.
but are certain coins cheaper than others? Will BNB coin
Depending on the
cost me-
market.
Yes.
Right, yes.
Depending on the market. So the same
Stupid
way
question.
like no, it's not. It's
That's
stupid.
a really stupid
No,
question.
but the same way like Apple or Nvidia
yeah,
or
yeah,
Coca-Cola
okay.
stock goes up.
It's a stock.
Supply and demand plays out exactly
Yeah.
like you expected.
So you're looking at the market and people are exchanging different coins, are they, as well as...
Yes. Yeah.
And is that mainly what they're doing, is exchanging different cryptocurrencies within your platform, or are they mainly using it to buy and sell?
Multiple
Do all of
use
it.
cases.
All of the
Like,
above.
it's
All
so
of the above.
interesting.
Okay.
All of the
and
above.
each market tends to
Be a little bit different.
Be different.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, some is
Different
safety,
products,
some is...
yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's where like
Fascinating.
from
God, it is
from a
fascinating.
marketing perspective, it's a dream and a challenge. Because we think about ourselves as
Anything
like,
is possible. Help.
there's
which
no
is
universal
like, so.
What are some common sort of red flags that people should think about if they are interested? I mean, do your own research, obviously great advice, but what else would you say if people are listening? We approach this partnership with caution and, as I said, truly believing in diversification and testing. And, as you said earlier, what's your biggest piece of advice as an entrepreneur? Test and learn, like go carefully. What red flags would you have others that you
I would
have?
say it's not red flags. It's more about, once you've set up your account, to Frederica's earlier point, you need to be doing your education and also starting small. And it needs to be funds that are disposable.
Yeah.
As I would recommend if you were investing in traditional stock assets. This not like... You hear
Over-leverage.
stories about people seeing the opportunity to increase the value of, their funds double and taking out loans to support that. That is not what you
putting
do.
their life
Not what we're
savings-
Now,
saying,
thankfully, we know
yes.
women tend not to do that, but
Yes,
we do
so
know
true.
also there is this like drive in the social media culture we live in, to create wealth and value. So that's something I would advise is
And
like
do you
starting
think
small.
Do you think those days have gone? Was there a moment in the early days where that was happening? And Dubai was kind of known for that, wasn't it? Like overnight crypto millionaires.
They weren't overnight. Those people had invested for like 3
Years.
years
Right.
and then saw the value
Yeah.
increase. And they also hadn't. The other thing is you need to like keep calm. That's the biggest thing, because you do see some volatility. Like the markets are down this morning as we sit here. You know, I have a husband who's very risk averse, and he's like, "Should we sell now?" I'm like,
Yeah, but
"No,
I mean-
you sit, because we know that it's volatile."
We
you
also
know,
know
there's.
that when a certain man came in the other day to his new big house, there's a resettling
But what's
going on,
what's
right?
really interesting with that is everyone thinks that was just down to our new leader of the free world, but actually there had been a 14-month roadmap to
Lead
get
up
to
to
that
that.
point where we saw, you know, the listing of ETFs where pension funds are getting into Bitcoin and Ethereum. We saw, you know, a lot of the big institutions like BlackRock, like Goldman Sachs announcing that they had put Bitcoin in their holdings and their strategic reserves. We've heard governments like Argentina, you know, and the US now talking about the fact that they're going to hold some of their treasury in Bitcoin. So that had all been on a track to an upward trend. It just didn't happen overnight. Like obviously there was, you know, some peaks, but it wasn't just on an overnight basis.
Yeah, 2024 was massively pivotal year that led up
It was a watershed year.
Yeah, that led up to what happened in January.
Which was a huge spike.
Huge
Spike.
Huge spike.
And obviously we're now
Well,
seeing
November
a bit
to
of an
January
adjustment.
was a spike.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
but-
normalization.
Yeah.
End of October was sort of
Yes,
tipping point.
I know a few people said to me, "Oh, it's nose diving." I was like, "But didn't it just like massively go through the
Yeah.
roof?"
To your question about red flags, like everything we just said is all FOMO. Like you usually don't want to be doing something because you have FOMO. Same, I think we talked about the same thing. Like you don't want to go to a flash sale and buy something just because it's on sale. Because usually
Sometimes you just have to, don't you?
I know, but usually take that home and you go,
Do you do that frequently?
But you've got to know that sometimes you get home and you go, "Shh,
Exactly.
really
Sometimes you go to jam.
shouldn't have bought that." And I took the tag off in the shop, and now I'm stuck with
Yeah.
it. You know, it happens, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
So all I would say is don't let FOMO lead you.
Yeah, live within your means.
Yes.
And know what you're investing in. Like the tools are there, whether it be Binance Academy or whatever is your education, you know, platform of choice. You can learn about this. And I know, and podcasts, like they're the easiest way.
And YouTube.
You know,
Really.
Yeah.
Social media is, I mean,
Well-
careful, but there's some really great resources.
Well,
on
I'm going to
YouTube.
start with your academy.
Yes.
and,
There we
go. You're one of 43 million people.
Is
Who've
that
used it.
right?
We had 43 million people that used it last year, which
And
I
you
just
said
think
you
is
can start with a
encouraging.
2-hour movie.
So the equivalent of watching a movie, you could learn a lot.
It does become addictive because I'm someone who takes in things visually and through audio. So like it's like and I think a lot of women just don't have the opportunity to sit down and educate themselves because of like the
Read
mental
all
load
day.
of everything else they're dealing with.
Yeah.
But this is one that you can dip in and out on your own
But,
time.
but look, if you're serious, if you want to be financially independent, then you know you're saying it's here to stay. It's growing. The users is growing. It's hard to ignore it. From where I'm sitting, it makes perfect sense to park the next pair of shoes and give it a go and see what happens and approach with caution. I've found it fascinating talking to you both. I hope people listening have too. Is there anything else you would finish with on this topic for people that are listening and are interested?
Proceed with caution. Learn as much as you can, but I think everyone should learn a lot.
How
about
much
this
do you
space.
start with?
As
I know you
Rachel
hate
said-
that question. but
As Rachel said, you could start with $5. I mean, I think one of the biggest myths is that you have to buy a whole Bitcoin, which at the moment, you know, is it's teetering below 90,000. But that's not true. I think you can absolutely invest £5, dollars, whatever
Euro,
currency.
shekels.
Yes, yeah, and
But you
whatever.
can put 100 quid in an account.
Yes.
And give it a go.
yeah.
Yes, and if you're really
And you can do 100 quid and leave it there to
Yes.
earn, or you can, you know, start playing
Leave
and
50.
trading.
and
Play
if you're
around with the other
more-
50. Yeah,
if
why
you're
not?
more committed, you could, you know, dollar cost average $100 a month. That's a higher commitment, but at least you're, as you were saying, sort of how do you hedge the market? That's a
Yeah.
good way to do that.
I think, you know, one of the reasons why we push and try and do so much female education, you know, at Binance is this is another financial revolution where women are getting left behind for a variety of reasons. So I would just implore women to see this as an opportunity for empowerment, to actually, you know, take, you know, an opportunity to take a little bit of a step into this space. And if they don't enjoy it, step out. But if they are, their interest is piqued, there is a wealth of information, there is a wealth of kind of events, forums, you know, education touch points where you can learn, and who knows, you may end up benefiting from it. So I just think it's one of those, you know, financial literacy wasn't something that we were taught about in school.
Well,
so we have
don't
to
get me started on that.
yeah, and it's so critical. And
Yeah.
you know, this is
Yeah.
interesting not just for individuals, it's also interesting for people like setting up businesses,
Yeah.
for cross-border payments. If you've got a business in London and you're doing business in UAE, you're able to get, your funds faster to your team. So I think the use cases are enormous. So even if you don't want to step into it yet, just like educate and have like a point of view or an opinion on it.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
power.
Exactly.
As is my philosophy in life, and it's fascinating. And look, I joke about shoes, but I also am at an age and stage of life where I do want to understand this stuff, and I think as women we should.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to women like you for unpacking it so beautifully for us. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. If that has piqued your interest, tell your friends to listen to and check out the links below. Thank you again to Binance. Thank you, Rachel, Frederica, and we will be back soon.